Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrities. And what we were doing till now is like interacting with researchers starting in India and abroad. And we are broadening our horizons today with Dr. Musa. Dr. Musa has done his PhD in Germany. And then now presently he's a postdoctoral fellow in Texas A&M University in College Station, USA. And Dr. Musa brings us his rich research expertise, starting from Nigeria to Germany and in USA. So here today, what we are going to witness is like how research functions across the continents. And with this, I would like to welcome Dr. Musa. Dr. Musa, thank you for sparing your valuable time for us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to this esteemed group. And I'm looking forward to sharing my journey through science from my university days where I did my bachelor, my master's, all the way to my PhD, and now in TAMU, that's Texas A&M University, for my postdoctoral research fellowship. So I'm open to everything. Then from there, we can continue. So for now, I'll wait for the questions to start. And if you want me to just continue from now, then I can just go ahead. So you lead the way.
Doctor, when you actually decided that you want to be a researcher, let's start with
that. That is one of $1 million question, because thinking of when to start to be a researcher, I think it will go further down memory lane. To me, I've initially felt that I'm supposed to do something differently, actually, to be in the military, because I was fascinated by some kind of videos I used to see on Discovery Channel, and people used to talk with animals, like you see the man talking with an animal and say, this is what the animal will do. And you find the animal doing that. And I was a young guy, very young child then. And I got fascinated. How is he saying, and the animal is doing that thing? I never knew that maybe there's a lot of editing going down on the background. So I was thinking, wow, that would be nice to be able to communicate to animals, to manipulate them, to make them do what you want to do. So I felt that, oh, this could be a nice thing to look into. And then I felt, well, growing up, I felt that, okay, you can join the military, and there's so many aspects of the military that you can use science to it. So I got fascinated into it, and that is how you start, actually. But just a caveat, I didn't go into the military, but I found myself in science, unfortunately. So I didn't get the whole dose, but I get half of the dose. So that is how I start thinking of going into science, actually.
So when you were in Nigeria, your early, like primary, all the entire education till PhD, what made you think that when you have done all your education in Nigeria, and then now you wanted to pursue a PhD, and you got an opportunity in one of the most famous labs, Dr. Ernst's lab in Germany, how you started that journey?
Well, I think the journey starts actually when I have to start when I started with my degree program. That's my bachelor. I was in agri to start with, so it's kind of a fascinating journey. I think it will kind of give a lot of people insight of how it happens. So I started my journey as an agriculturalist. So during my final year in the university, they took me to crops Department of Agri-Economics and Extension. But I went to the dean of the faculty. I told him I don't want to do agri-economics and extension. I want to go into crop science. So everybody was worried, why am I running from agri-economic and extension to crop science, where a lot of people then in Nigeria, the banking industry is booming. People try to go into agri-econ, to go into the banking sector. And this is someone that wants to go into crop science. I have no idea what was going on, because there are so many things. If you are not at that level, you will know what is really happening. So on getting to crop science, fortunately, we were told that there's going to be a scholarship if you get some certain grade to go and pursue your PhD. That was in Ghana. So luckily for me, I was chosen after my first degree to enjoy that scholarship that is sponsored by BAEB, that's a German body, to go for my PhD in Germany, in my master's in Germany, which when I went for my master's in Germany, then I started working with insects because the center is called African Regional Postgraduate Program in Insect Science in University of Ghana, Legon. So I did my master's there and I worked with stored product insects. After that, I returned back to Nigeria, worked in an NGO for a year and a half actually, to working with NGOs in women sanitation, water and sanitation, working with HIV/AIDS people, working with different strata education and all those kind of things. But my dream is to go into the university. And that is how I went into the university. I got an opportunity to be a lecturer in the university in Nigeria. I started the PhD. Then something happened in Nigeria. I started a PhD. In a class, we were discussing, then one of our lecturers says that, why don't you guys look into molecular biology? There's a lot of labs that are working on molecular biology. A lot of funding is there. Why don't you always you want to do the classical part of entomology? Why don't you upgrade to another part of entomology that you can see things from a different perspective? Her name is Professor Nocha, actually, she's from Cameroon. So I picked interest, then I started searching online. Then luckily for me, I met Professor Ernst Wiemer, that is in George August University in Göttingen. Then we started discussing with him. Then he said, yeah, he will have an opportunity for me, but in the next 1 year. So I've already started a PhD in Nigeria, but I look at the opportunity. I said, this is a new field, a new opportunity for me, a new challenge. So I decided to say, okay, no problem, I'll wait for another year. So I waited for another year. Then after that, I got into the program in Germany, where I started my PhD in Germany. And from there, I did research with insects. And today I'm here I finished my PhD there, then now I am here in Tamu, that is Texas A&M University. Maybe I'll go into the nitty gritty of what I did in Germany as well, as we move forward. So that's how it happened.
That's like a great one. So now when you said that you took up challenge and you said that you already were pursuing your PhD in Nigeria, when you got this opportunity, you waited for it an year. So if you share your some of the interesting part or some of the challenging part when you have to make a decision that okay, you want to sacrifice your 1 year because you are seeing it in a longer run, that in future you see that okay, there are more opportunities in Germany, that's the reason you chose it, or it was because of your interest in the molecular field. What actually drove you to say that okay, whatever I have learned in this 365 days or more than a year, and now I want to pursue something totally different and starting from scratch?
Okay, I think it's a mixture of the two, but in the fact that the opportunities in Germany sounds to give you more broader perspective about science, and again the interest as well. Because when I finished my master's, which I did on stored product entomology, I worked with Raja Bora. So I came back to Nigeria. When I started the PhD, to me it seems to be the same thing. I'm still working almost on the same thing, but just different organisms. So the interest is not there. I sat down and I felt, okay, I've worked something like this. I've studied all those protocols. I know how to do all those things. To me, I feel it's going to be like a walk in the park for me. So, and I don't like that. I want to be challenged. I want to really challenge myself to really know if I can do something differently in a different field and see if I'm really the person I think I am. So based on that, I felt, yeah, then the opportunity in Germany came. Then I said, okay, that is a different thing entirely from what I know. And it's kind of more challenging because when I was even reading the papers at the beginning, I was like, what is this? I don't even know what they are talking about. But I took it upon myself that, okay, if I want to be among the best, I have to be trained by the best. And if I want to really be who I want to be, I have to move out of my comfort zone. So I felt that, okay, number one, I want to broaden my horizon in different fields. Number two, I want to be trained in the best labs that I can lay my hands on at that particular time. And the third one is I want to see if I can really push myself to the limit, because I believe we are a product of our acceptance. When you accept your situation, then that's who you are. So I hardly want to accept that situation, to live in a comfort zone and just be like a small god in a big god in the small waters. But I want to go somewhere else, challenge myself, test myself with the best in the world, and see what it comes out of it eventually. And that's what happens actually. So, and I'm happy about that. Actually,
Great, absolutely. I think everyone, whosoever is thinking of pursuing PhD or have done PhD, they should be proud of themselves, because PhD is just not a degree, it's a training. And as you rightly mentioned, there are some people who really want to be in their comfort zone and never want to come out. The success is like everyone, it is, as you said, it is up to you. You have to take a call. You want to be in your comfort zone and be excellent in something, or you want to broaden your horizon. And because nowadays people want to be masters of more than one thing, and that is how, when we talk about collaborative science, and when people from different backgrounds, they come together and build up a research proposal which previously people were not thinking, because now you don't have expertise of only one background. You bring the expertise from different backgrounds, and then you build up a project proposal. So when you moved to Germany, when you spend your PhD tenure there, what was the thing where then, because your work with was tribolium, now you are working on mosquitoes, and think like transitioning to mosquitoes, still working on tribolium. How different you see that because there are, as you said, molecular biology techniques, they remain the same, but when you move from one insect to another one, or in different class of animals, how do, if a researcher who is pursuing their PhD and now want to pursue a postdoc in a different, altogether a different field, how challenging is this decision to make?
Well, I think it's number one, you have to do the SWOT analysis, which is very important for you. You have to look at your strengths. What are your strengths? You have to look at what your weaknesses are and how you are going to turn them into your strengths. And you have to look at the opportunities that are there, and then the threats that you are going to face. So you actually need to do that analysis and be sincere to yourself. Don't lie to yourself about that, and try to cut corners. Be sincere to yourself. That is number one. Secondly, it's not that I had a very drastic change from my PhD to my master's to my postdoctoral now. But I was in the lab that working with sterile insect techniques, where we use, we are trying to see how to control the population of organisms using SIT, which is almost the same thing I'm doing here. But the difference of what I'm doing now in my postdoc is because of the gene drive technology that I'm involved in now. So the thing that I felt that is quite different is because all of a sudden I start feeling the same feeling I had when I was in Nigeria, starting to be in my comfort zone again, trying to feel, okay, I know all these things without even studying. I can just wake up in the day, just look at the abstract of a paper without even going in depth into it, and say, okay, this is something I can do easily without even breaking a sweat. So then this opportunity came, and I studied the research proposal. I studied it, and then I felt that, okay, this is another challenge that I felt that I have to now take it up again, because I feel I want to push more to see if I can really get it. And I gave myself a 6-month window period. I say, after 6 months, if I don't feel comfortable, it means that maybe I've reached my level. Then I'll start thinking of maybe quitting, or start thinking of something different. And that is why I picked this challenge. So to me, I feel that as a postdoc, or maybe a PhD student that you just finished your PhD, you are looking for a postdoctoral position, or your master's looking for a PhD position, you should always look at something that challenges you. Because number one, you should always look at something that you sit down and say, okay, I don't know anything about this. I want to start from the beginning. At least you already have the foundation. It will challenge you to read more, to go in depth into study, read books, journals, and all those kind of. And before you know, you have broadened your horizon beyond anything you can think about.
Nice.
You can only realize that when you sit down and look, maybe take a stock of where you come from and where you are now, then you appreciate yourself so much more. And to me, just face it, because don't be scared. Yeah, sometimes it can be scary, like moving from a comfortable area to somewhere that is not, you don't know anybody, you don't know if you are going to be okay with the people around you and all those kind of things. And another thing, look at the lab that you are going into, because it's very important. If the lab is some kind of lab that you cannot fit in, no matter how brilliant you are, you get a problem there. So always try, more especially for postdocs, always look at the lab, ask questions. Don't be like most of us are coming from third world country. Don't be so much in a rush that, okay, I've gotten the position, I want to just go into the lab and all those kind of things. But ask questions, ask personal questions, ask scientific questions, so that because it helps in a great deal. Because if you go into a lab and you have personal problems with them, then even if you are scientifically sound, you find that you can't fit in.
Right.
And to me, that is very important.
Absolutely. This is crucial. And you pointed out this very, like in the best way possible, because what people do is like, there has been incidences when they rush into the fellowship because they got that opportunity in a great lab, and then they struggle once they join there because of so many differences. So would you like to share any of such or similar experiences if you have seen, because you have moved from Nigeria to Germany to USA, if there were any challenges which you faced either in Germany or in USA when you, like in the transitioning period, when you just settled in the lab and then you saw some changes, and then what you suggest to our viewers that they can learn from your experience?
I think, let me start from Germany, actually. For Germany, there was not much problem, because the only difference that I felt is the language, because of you are moving from an English-speaking country to a country that speaks German. But luckily for me, in our lab, we speak English. So then there's no problem. But the other caveat is we speak English in the lab, then you step out of the lab, then you meet people that speak, sometimes some of them don't speak English, then you have a problem. So to me, that is the only challenge, but the university was gracious enough to give us opportunity to learn German language and all those kind of things. So the thing was good. And again, before I got to that lab in Germany, I did my own search on the professor, where he has studied, where he has been, and all those kind of things. The student he had in his lab before me, and I found I can see names of people. I checked the names of the people, and I found that a lot of them come from different diverse backgrounds. So by seeing that, I felt, okay, it seems like this is a lab that takes in a lot of foreigners. So from that perspective, I think it will be a good one, because then I can't ask much questions, actually. But I felt this will be a good one because I check people coming from different continents. So I felt, okay, then I moved to the lab, and luckily for me, it was one of the most internationally diverse lab that you can ever find. It's before I left Ernst Wiemer, he's a German, but there was no German in the lab. We are all foreigners from Iraq, India, Pakistan, Sudan, Egypt. So we are just all over the place, like some people from Ukraine. So there was not even a German, so you can see the lab was so diverse. So when I was to leave to Texas A&M, and I had a meeting with my boss here, Zach Elderman. I asked him that question actually. I asked him, sir, I'm coming from a lab which is much more diverse. How is your lab diversity like? Yeah, and he told me, and I started to say, yeah, they are well diverse and all those kind of, because that is very important for me.
Absolutely.
Not because I have any prejudices against any people, but I like to learn different people's culture, to live with different people from different parts of the world. And that is how I can broaden my horizon. So to me, the science aspect is super nice, but the interaction within the lab is the most important one.
Nice.
Because if you can get the interaction in the lab up to like 40–50%, believe me, your science will fly.
Nice.
But if you meet the lab is so monolithic and they are so not too diverse, and they are so indrawn into themselves, you might have serious, I have never experienced such in my life yet, because all the labs I work are diverse labs. But I felt that it can be quite different. So I'm not generalizing it. I'm just talking based on my own experience. So, and everybody have to look at his own experience differently and what he wants in life. But
Absolutely.
that is how I felt.
Yeah. So here I would like to tell our viewers that the point which Dr. Musa just mentioned, the diversity in the lab and the interaction, research is not just about doing your experience, experiments. It is about the whole personality development of yours when you are ending up in a new lab. And if you cannot interact with your research colleagues, then it is a big caveat, which you have to consider before. And as Musa just now said, don't be afraid of asking questions. When you are moving from one country to another, you are taking a lot of pressure on you. So what can minimize it? When you are interacting with the lab members, with your mentor, your PI, well in advance, and thinking that, do you think that you can fit very well in the lab environment? And you can be expressive, you can share. It is not about that you are going to talk a lot with your colleagues, but a certain amount needs to be taken care of, because sometimes when your experiments are not working, you need your peers to consult. And then if you cannot talk to them, it is a tough situation. I think that's what Musa was mentioning here. So yeah. Musa, when you ended up traveling in different continents, doing your research, what was the, as you said, doing the SWOT analysis of yourself, what was the thing which you thought that being a researcher in a longer run will be the most beneficial for you? Because when you are applying for the postdoc positions, you might have different opportunities. And what are the basics when you chose a lab over another one?
To me, the first and foremost thing I look into it is the research that particular lab is conducting, because I always like to go into the website of those, even if I apply, I go to the website of those departments or lab to really check the kind of research they are doing, because that is very important for me. Because to me, I feel like the good the research is, the more challenging that particular research is, the better for me. Because I can easily get relaxed. That is my problem. So I don't want to get relaxed. So I look at that is number one. Secondly, the thing I look out for is the turnover, like because we are all in science. We don't want to do our research, write our thesis and keep it on the shelves. We want it to be published so that people can read at it and really see what we have done. It's kind of a peer review thing. So I always try to look at the kind of turnout, the publication that lab always push out, which is very important, because career-wise, I want to grow in my career. I don't want to be stunted I want to grow. And the only way you can grow in this field is by publications, because if you don't publish, then you have a problem. So these two things are very important for me. And then the other thing that mostly I look out for is culture is not something that really is like much more something I put very high there, because I feel that to me, I can adapt. I always say we are humans, so humans have the ability to adapt to situations. So I always have myself with that mindset that no matter what it is, I can still adapt to whatever I find myself. So those things don't are things that I actually look out for. And again, I look at safety because that is very, very important.
Absolutely.
And more especially when you begin to have family, you have to start thinking of safety because you can't look at yourself alone. You have to look at the safety of the people around you.
Absolutely.
So safety is very important because you can get the best love, the best friendly environment, everything is good. But if the place is not safe, whether it is emotional problems, whether it is diversity problem, whether it is any kind of safety that you look out for, you have to look into that so that you accept if you can adapt in that kind of safe environment. So, and that is very, very important because before you can do research, you have to be alive. So, and that is the most important thing. So to me, these things are very, very important for me.
Absolutely.
The money aspect is good, but it's not something I put up there. Not something I put up there because yes, we have to survive.
Yes.
So you need to get how to survive, but these three things are much more important for me than that.
Absolutely. I think this piece of information will help more of our bridging postdocs, like who are just finishing their PhD and now are in the stage where they have to make decisions where they want to join the postdoc. So this is, I think, everyone should pay a very close attention to Dr. Musa's word here. And so now here, when we are almost in our start towards the end of the show, I would like to ask you that when you meet a researcher at this, like when you interact with the students in the college, when they have not made up their mind that they want to be a researcher or not, and when you interact with a PhD scholar, and now you must be interacting with enough of the postdocs, how do you see a researcher's growth and their divergence in a way that some of them want to be in academia and some of them want to move to industry? If you can share some thoughts about that.
Number one, you have to look at it from a different perspective because being in academies is a lot of sacrifice. You have to make tons of sacrifice to be in academics. I'm not saying to be in industry is not a lot of sacrifice, but when you commensurate the input and the output and all those kind of things, then you find out that in academia, you are making a lot of sacrifice. So if your mindset of coming into academia is for you to like be the Elon Musk of this world, then you don't have to be in academia. That is the beginning. So because in academia, it's just a place where you incubate ideas. And certainly sometimes you can work for 18 hours, 20 hours, all of number of days in between. And you find out that at the end of the day, you just want to publish that paper and that's the end. And most times, unless if it is some kind of thing that has to do with some kind of epidemic in the world, that people start looking into you and start asking you guys to give us solutions to these problems. Most times people take less attention to what you do because, and this is one. So to me, when I meet a student, maybe a doctoral student or master's student, and he's thinking about being in academies and all those kind of things, I would really like him to know the kind of sacrifices, his ability he can endure, what kind of sacrifices can he make. Because at the end of the day, if you are not going to make all sacrifices to see that you want to build the nation, you want to build the world to other people, then you don't have a reason to be in academia. Secondly, if you don't have the way to succinctly pass out your information in the best possible ways for the students to understand you, because the only way you can be an academic is for you to be able to replicate yourself in another person. So if you cannot replicate yourself in another person, you don't have a reason to be in the academics. Because you can have the wealth of knowledge, you can be anything you want to be, very intelligent dude, but you don't know how to express it, how to make another person be you when you are not there. And again, in academies, there's things that you don't have to be, selfishness. Because if you have information and you always want to keep it to yourself, that, oh, okay, it's only me that know it, nobody in the world should know it, yeah, then you don't have a reason to be in the academics. So these are some of the things. It's not like, but when you go to industry, that is why in industry you find when they publish a drug, maybe a drug or something, they tend to hide some of the things they do so that other people cannot take up their because of they call it patent right or something. But in academics, we are forced to write all your protocol in your paper so that somebody can replicate your work. So you can see, we in the academy, you have to be as open, as sincere, as honest as you can be. Not, I'm not saying those in industry are not, but certainly for them, they hide some of their things so that they can make much more money and all those kind of things. So technically, academics is not a place to make money. It's a place for you to be much more open and sincere. So these are the things you have to balance. Can you make sacrifices? Can you be as sincere as you are supposed to be? Can you replicate yourself in the next person and all those kind of, if you feel you can't fit into these things, then I think it's better you find yourself somewhere else, maybe in the industry or maybe in the government cycle or in politics or something.
Nice.
That is the only thing you can say about.
No, I think that will be helpful for all the viewers, whosoever is listening to this video. And on the closing remarks, I would like to ask you the final question, that when you say that you wanted to be known as a researcher, what actually is the force which is driving to tell you that I just want to do this for the rest of my life?
Yeah, the whole thing is about trying to look for solution to a lot of problems in the world. Because we are living in a world where every day there's one problem or another coming up. And people, at some point, they get lost on how to help themselves and all those kind of things. The world population is growing geometrically, and certainly we have to find a way to feed the people. We have to find a way to make people more comfortable, depending on the resources we have. And if you look at it, the resources we have in this world are being depleted by the day. So if they are being depleted by the day and the population of the world is increasing, then it means that at some point we get to a stage where we cannot find a lot of resources to take care of the people that have been produced in this world. So we have to look for alternative sources. And the way you can look for most of these alternative sources is for you to go in depth into science. Sometimes you have to do synthetic ways, sometimes you have to do to exponentially grow those things, or to make them much more shortened time of production or something, so that people will have something to eat and people will be comfortable. So to me, it's all about looking at these things and trying to bring solutions in my own possible way that I can. And that is why I'm in science, and that is why I love being in science.
Thank you very much, Dr. Musa, for sharing your rich experience with us. And I believe that our viewers can interact with you. If they want to contact you, we can furnish your details in there. If they want to contact via us, we can connect you with all of our viewers, whosoever want your guidance. And, you know, because the rich, as your experience will help everyone, as you said, it is a training in academia that you want to grow yourself in others and guide them to the path they want to. That's when your experiences makes most of it. So with this, we would like to thank you for sparing your time and sharing your experiences with our viewers. Thank you very much, Dr. Musa, and good luck for your future research.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.